You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 57, folks. And without further ado, I am your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Killen, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, newly father, newly mother, Paul Vold, Shield. What's going on, Papa Shield?
It has been a whirlwind of a week. I can't believe it's only Wednesday, but at the same time, everything that's happened last week, I'm happy that it's Wednesday once again, and really looking forward to get back into a little bit of a normal swing of things here with the show tonight.
Yeah, it should be fun. We got a lot to talk about, obviously a lot to celebrate as well. And we, again, congratulations to you. Congratulations to our creative consultant, Sarah Ann Tooze Vold. Welcome to the world, Kase, as we like to say as well. Yeah. More on that later. We'll have more fun with that. But we wanted to congratulate you, Voldy, as well. And yeah, even Jane's getting into this too. Daddy Vold. There you go. There you go. Here we go. So we'll be getting into that throughout the show here as well. Congratulations, things like that. Comment in. But we have a lot to get through. There is a lot that we need to talk about tonight because we got free agency going on. We've got March Madness. There's a lot going on with Minnesota sports. And we're bringing back top 10 infamous lists. We have those updated for the zoners as well. And then, of course, ARA. So, Voldy, let's get things started off with some tater tot. Whoa! Hot take!
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it's time for some Tater Tot Hot Take. First thing we got to start off with is obviously our beloved Minnesota Vikings. They are starting off free agency with, I don't know if you would say a big splash, but I mean, it's maybe a little bit. I don't know. They've been making cap space, things like that. They've been letting go guys. They've been signing guys and whatnot. But it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. The Vikings did re-sign our guy, Voldy, Chad Beebe. So we welcome Chad Beebe back into the fold as well.
Yep.
Claps all around for Chad Beebe. And not only that, the Vikings did sign a defensive tackle, which was duly needed, big time. We get Dalvin Tomlinson, 2 years, $22 million. That helps one thing, but I feel like the things are going to start picking up here as well. Carl says, hello from the Lumberjacks score table, gents. Hello there, Carl. Thanks for tuning in to the show. Appreciate it. And then here, Kerf Doctor's got a good one here. Paul, the dad, Vold. we got to call our VO guy and have him do that for us.
Squeeze that guy in there.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh my gosh, too funny. But anyway, Voldy, your thoughts on the Vikings' move so far? And then obviously give me your thoughts on adding Dalvin Tomlinson into the mix. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really good start in the right direction for the Vikings. Obviously, depth was a big issue for the Vikings this past year. Obviously, adding Tomlinson in the middle is going to be great. If we can get Michael Pierce back this year after him opting out this past season, for COVID reasons and get those two right in the middle. That's great. Unfortunately, did have to let go Shamar Stephen in the process. Did re-sign Stephen Weatherly as well this past week. So that's another familiar piece to the Vikings defensive line that'll help bring that familiarity to a defensive line that, well, didn't get a whole lot of pressure last year, and that's going to be a good mix. You bring back some of that experience, but also with the younger players, the rookies, the backups that played a lot of snaps last year, that's only going to benefit. I know that last season did end a little bit on a sour note, finishing under 500. But again, it's a lot better to get experience in a weird year than, basically go in 2 years ago and just lose everybody in free agency and, not come back with nothing, basically what it was last year. But I do like Tomlinson coming in. He was a guy that played for a bad defense in New York. I mean, he had 49 tackles, 8 for loss, 3.5 sacks, 10 quarterback hits as well. A few, high pass deflections as well, batted passes at the line of scrimmage, which is good for a defensive tackle as well. He had 4 of them, which is, something you don't see all that well. But early on, seeing a lot of defensive signings, that's the route that the Vikings definitely needed to go this offseason, was definitely shore up a lot of things on the defensive side. I think it's a really good start. Not a lot of big names, but just guys that were on the bigger side for other teams that could really fit into a good system with the Vikings.
I agree, and I agree with a lot of what you said. I think the one thing that I think we all need to understand, too, is that this team has never depending on what kind of need it is, obviously. If it's quarterback, they went out and get Kirk Cousins, that type of thing. But they're not the type to go into the first wave and start picking guys out. I know we wanted Joe Thuney. I know we wanted to solidify that guard spot, but that was a lot of money, and the Vikings don't have that big of cap space in order to get that type of impact player for the offensive line. And I know we've been talking about this on many of the shows, line. But at the same time, this is not how Spielman and Zimmer want to do things in free agency. They want that price tag to drop a little bit so then they can get the quality guys. And Dalvin Tomlinson, he is very good. He's a very good run stuffer. And also, he gets pressure, too. You might think, oh, well, it's good to, plug up the holes and, things like that against, Green Bay, who just re-signed Aaron Jones. Like we talked about last week with Mets. But this is going to help with Michael Pierce, with Dalvin Tomlinson. Now, the big question is, and I don't know what the hell's going on with Danielle Hunter right now. Obviously, he wants a new deal, and the Vikings are kind of like saying, well, you didn't play it all last year. That type of thing, which is kind of frustrating because I didn't think Danielle was that type of guy to say, I need to be paid more type of thing, which is kind of frustrating. But, again, we got to see what happens with Danielle Hunter and whatnot. But I look at the situation in the interior, it looks really good. And the thing is that these guys, Dalvin Tomlinson, Michael Pierce, they're big boys, okay? They will clog up the lanes. And what does that free up for? Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr. Hey, things are starting to look good. Now, I think they're going to go out and get someone that's going to fit the offensive line because they need to address the guard spot. They haven't gone out and gotten, Dakota Dozier again because he is a free agent right now. And
right.
Like you said, it's the depth, and I think the next thing they got to look at is the offensive line. And after that, I think you start looking at the defensive backs, maybe some veteran corners to help out the young guys, which the young guys have been great. Dantzler, Gladney, guys like that. And then you got, the safety position. You're not going to re-sign Anthony Harris. I hate to tell you that.
Unfortunately.
So, and it is unfortunate because I really liked what he did, not this past season, but the season after that. So,
yep.
But so far, it's meh. It was a good signing for the Vikings to get Dalvin Tomlinson. And then they also signed Nick Vigil, former Los Angeles Chargers linebacker, 1-year deal, $1.35 million guaranteed. So you had some depth on the linebackers position too, because I don't think Eric Wilson's coming back. So
no, unfortunately, that's probably the route he's going to have to fit into. Is that Eric Wilson role, like a fourth linebacker, special teams kind of guy.
And we all have to remember, too, Voldy, that the draft is coming up, too. It's not like we can just say, we haven't fulfilled any of the needs in free agency. And, well, there's time. And technically, you can't sign guys until today. You couldn't do that.
Literally today.
Yeah, literally today. So, there's that as well. So, we can't fully assess it. Obviously, we're going to keep, in tune with what's going on via the socials medias with the purple. And, let's see how everything goes. They're going to kind of get into that second wave. They're going to start signing guys. And it's very early in the process. So, I know Slick Rick's on the phone. Zimmer's on the phone as well. So, we'll see what happens. But I'm feeling pretty confident that they'll address some needs, and, obviously in the draft, maybe they make a couple trades. I don't know. Maybe they re-sign Daniil. That's kind of the big question.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But one last thing before we move on to our next thing, Voldy. The Vikings, you look at some of the needs that they, obviously I brought up O-line. I brought up the defensive back. Is there any other position you'd like to see the Vikings kind of shore up? Maybe like a wide receiver 3 with maybe a guy like Keelan Cole, guys like that. I mean, what position are you kind of looking at? Maybe the Vikings just, solidifying.
Yeah, I think it's that third wide receiver is the big glaring hole that is, after the defensive line, the offensive line, defensive backfield as well. You need a true third wide receiver. We already know Thielen and Jefferson are going to get the ball.
Yep.
Irv Smith Jr., Tyler Conklin as well, they're going to get their touches, and as well as Dalvin out of the backfield, Alexander Madison, whoever's going to be the backup after Madison as well. Those guys are going to get the ball, but definitely need to get somebody that could be a third wide receiver, somebody that could definitely handle the ball. I think those are the two. That's the big spot right there that needs to be answered. We thought it was going to be BC Johnson and Tajay Sharp this past year, but neither of them. I mean, Tajay Sharp got released a couple weeks left in the season, and BC Johnson was an afterthought after last year's season as well. But this past year, I mean, it was rare to see him on the field at all.
Yeah, and there were flashes with BC at some points before the season and whatnot, but then Chad Beebe kind of had a flash here and there, but it wasn't consistently making plays, because people are so focusing on Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Then you have, obviously, when we still had Rudy, shout out to Rudy, by the way, again, and we still have Irv Smith. So again, they had a lot of weapons. Dalvin you throw into the mix as well. But yeah, I think that's the big need, is maybe just a wide receiver 3. I think you can get a guy relatively, maybe $5 million or something like that, depending on how many years, because since the salary cap is so low this year, there's not much room to work, and a lot of guys want these 1-year, 2-year deals. They don't want this long, drawn-out process. They want to, see what happens into the next year. So there's a lot of 1-year deals happening right now. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with the market and everything these next couple of days. But I agree with you, Voldy. I think that's one of the big needs. Other than that, offensively, I don't see any big glaring needs besides O-line and then maybe a wide receiver 3. They need a return specialist. And, I guess, trying to address that safety position next to Harry the Hitman. So got to start thinking about that. But anyway, we'll keep you guys up to date. We'll see what happens with this free agent market. And again, just there's a lot of big names out there anyway. So there's plenty of time for the Vikings to make the moves they want to make. And they have a plan. Right. I know that. They definitely have a plan. So, all right. Well, Voldy, let's move on to our next big news of this past week. Richard Pitino, after 8 seasons, has been fired by the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Yep.
We all kind of saw this coming. I think this was a move that had to be made because it wasn't working. And the reason why this wasn't working is because they couldn't get over that hump, really. Yeah. They've had good seasons. There's no issue with that, but the way they started this season, you're thinking, oh my gosh, they beat Michigan, they beat Illinois, they beat Iowa. They're ready to go. but then to all of a sudden just fall off a cliff by losing to teams like, oh, for God's sake, Nebraska of all teams. They were the worst team in the Big Ten, and we lost to them towards the end of the season. I mean, it was a train wreck at the end. And the thing is, the Gophers really had no choice. So, Voldy, what are your thoughts on Pitino being fired by the Gophers?
If you go 0-10 in the Big Ten, I don't understand how you could keep a job besides the fact that, maybe the writing was on the wall overall. I mean, obviously we knew the fact that, if things were going to go well this year, there was going to be some talks about him not coming back, and both parties agreed. Now he's a head coach at New Mexico, apparently. You get let go from one job, you get hired by another one. I mean, that's just interesting to see. But, I mean, I kind of see it as the fact that you finish 14 and 15 on the season. You go 0-10 in the Big Ten. And the Gophers had the typical Minnesota sports season. They do really good against the really good teams, the ones that are nationally ranked. And then they lose the teams that they're not supposed to lose to. Like a Northwestern had lost 13 straight games. Up until they played the Gophers. They beat Iowa, Ohio State, Michigan, Purdue. Number 5, number 9, number 4, number 20. All ranked teams. Then you lose to those other teams that were not so good, including Northwestern, which had not been good as well. Injuries did play a little bit of a part towards the end of the year. Not a whole lot of depth. Guys were coming in and out of the lineup like crazy. I do take a look at that into consideration. Yeah. Obviously, the fact that results weren't happening regardless. A lot of great players coming in. Gabe Kalsher and also Liam Robbins, were big parts of the offense this year. Then they get hurt. They lose that early on. Booth Gotch at Austin, Minnesota was going to be primed to be a big player for them this year. He gets injured as well. And now we're at the point now, results weren't happening to the Gophers' favor. I mean, it wasn't going to be good at all, but we'll see on that.
Matt says, hopefully Pitino refilled the gas tank on his university car. No, I think I would hope that he did, Matt.
We'll see.
I hope that he did. We'll see. But I actually liked Richard Pitino. I thought he was a good coach, and I thought he did a good job. The one critique I do have of Richard Pitino is he missed a lot of big names within the state. And he could not get the guys from in-state to come to Minnesota. And that was kind of the big question is, can he keep guys from going out to Duke or just giving an example with Duke, Kentucky, all the big, name schools. And that's one thing that I felt like he could have gotten better at, but also when you start the season like you did and giving people hope that, oh my gosh, we're going to be good, and then all of a sudden to crap the bed and just go, just be terrible. Now, here's an interesting stat, and everyone's been talking about this too, is that Pitino in the regular season, in the Big Ten, he was 54-96 against all teams in the Big Ten. So that is a tall tale sign that it's not working. And again, I'll give him some credit, though. The Big Ten Conference in basketball is very competitive. There's nothing that it is tough. But again, 54-96, it doesn't look good. Okay, it just doesn't look good. And I think Pitino handled his firing well. And honestly, I think he did the right thing. He appreciated everything that Minnesota's done. Mark Coyle seems to have had a good relationship, but I think they wanted to go in a different direction, and it was the smart thing to do. So, zoners, whatever you guys think, too, please comment in and let us know, too, if you thought it was... Obviously, you could turn this into absurd or approved question as well, but I think it's good that Pitino just obviously he gets fired and then he gets hired by New Mexico. So it all worked out in the end for Richard Pitino. And, Mark Coyle, had a teleconference or whatever. Decisions like this are never easy, but after evaluating the season and the previous 8 years of our program under Richard, it's clear to me that new leadership is needed. And I think that was clear to everybody else. So, but anyway, Voldy, there's one more thing before we actually get into just a titch of March Madness. There's the Gophers have a lot of options here, okay? As the Curve Doctor likes, they have options. And Eric Musselman from Arkansas is one guy that might be interested. You know, two sons of former Gopher head coaches, okay? One guy I think they really need to consider, and I think that he's had a really good year with San Diego State, Brian Dutcher. I believe that he should be the next head coach of the Golden Gophers. I'm making that bold prediction statement. I think they need to go after him if they have a big run in the tournament. That's just going to entice it a little bit further. So you never know. You really never know. And then also a guy whose name's thrown in there, Voldy, Ryan Saunders. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that either. So, Voldy, where would you like the Gophers to go? Again, Craig Smith, Nico Medved as well. Yeah, who do you think?
I mean, there's one name on this list that I'm surprised isn't on there, but I feel like should be, unless somebody knows something that I don't know.
Okay.
Where's Tim Miles? Where's Tim Miles on this short list of candidates? I mean, he's a Minnesota guy.
That's true.
Well, he coached at Minnesota, I should say. Coach in a Minnesota college, I should say. Native of Redfield, South Dakota, by the way, as well. Former SMSU head basketball coach, Mayville State as well. He was at Nebraska all those years, too. I mean, he would, if the opportunity did arise, I'm sure that he would throw his hat in the ring. But I also do like Craig Smith as well. He's a Minnesota native. He was at the University of South Dakota for a handful of years. Took his talents out to Utah State, has built that program into something worth contending out on the West, in the Mountain West Conference, and also a couple of national tournament appearances. And one of his former assistants as well, former best dressed man in the NSIC, that being Tremel Barnes back in the day. But Tremel now over at SDSU with the Jackrabbits. But I'd like to see, unless somebody knows something different, I'd like to see Tim Miles suit up as a Gophers head coach.
I wouldn't be opposed to that either. I think, it'll remain to be seen, obviously. But this is an enticing job, I feel like. Obviously, Indiana is looking for a coach, too. So you might have some competition in between that. But at the same time, you never know. I mean, you really never know what could happen. But I guess the biggest one that I don't feel great about is the Ryan Saunders thing. I'm not huge on that whole deal with Ryan Saunders. And it's no diss against Ryan. Maybe he'll be good. I don't know. But at the same time, I think it's still fresh. And I think maybe he needs more experience to get back into that head coaching role. So that's just my opinion on it. But the Gophers made the right move here. I mean, it was the only move that they could make at this point. So hopefully whoever gets in can get them back into the big dance, because we'd be talking about it right now, with March Madness. And obviously, it's just too bad that they had to end the season like they did. So there's that as well. All right, but anyway, speaking of March Madness, Voldy, games start tomorrow. Obviously, it's the play-in games and that whole spiel. But technically, Friday's the first and second rounds. Voldy, have you filled out a bracket, and do you plan to? What do you got?
I'm not really a big fill out a whole bracket kind of guy. I mean, every now and then I'll do it, but this year and even this past week been so crazy. I haven't had a lot of time to think about it and or do anything, but I'm definitely keeping my eye out. I mean, I miss the days in college and, the latter years of high school, spending the whole day just watching the tournament, literally doing nothing else, just watching all the games. I mean, I'm not a big college basketball guy, but NCAA tournament is a whole nother beast within itself. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably be running around like crazy this weekend a little bit, but I'll keep my eye out on some games as well. But it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out in Indiana this year.
And again, it's all in Indiana, like we were talking about. But it's just great to have it back. I think you and I would agree with that. And obviously, watching those, those games that come down to the wire and everything, and you're really tuned in for it. But I guess if I were to pick a team that I think could make a good run, the San Diego State, just because it's the Brian Dutcher thing and everything for the golfers and whatnot. But honestly, they got a really good squad, and you should watch that team play. And I think that they can make a run. Okay, they could definitely make a run. They could kind of be quote unquote the Cinderella team, even though again they've only lost 4 games this year too. So
right,
I look at them. Don't be surprised if they go far here. So. And then, obviously, I think one other team, too, Michigan State. I mean, they have to win their playing game first, but you can never really count out Tom Izzo in March Madness because he has those guys play at a different level every time in the tournament. So it'll be fun. Yeah, like you said, if you get some time, Voldy, and games coming down the wire, you might, pop it on, and there you go. We'll have a good time watching NCAA March Madness. I'm just glad it's back. That's all I got to say about it. So
definitely.
It's good. It's good. Now, Voldy, let's get to our top 10 infamous list. We've made some changes, and there's some interesting ones that you've made some changes, Voldy, and I like the changes that you made with it. And I've made changes to mine as well. So. And then Zoners, you comment in, give us your thoughts on what you think, who you guys think should be up there. We'll explain why we have some of these guys up there as well. So, this should be fun. I can't wait. Let's get it going. What's some top 10 infamous lists?
Here's the list no one wants to be on. Infamous Top 10.
All right, Voldy, it is time for the top 10 infamous list, and we've made a lot of changes, okay? And there's a lot that has to be said about these changes as well. So, Voldy, let's reveal it right now, and then why don't you start, and then I'll go. How about that? Let's do it.
That'll work.
All right.
That'll work.
Let's get it rolling. Go ahead.
All right, well, we got to start off here at number 10. And I got a big problem with my streaming service, YouTube TV. That's the route that we here at the Woods and Shore Studios are going with, strictly because of the fact I haven't been able to watch one Wild game, one Twins game, one Timberwolves game if I wanted to watch the Timberwolves at all, but I don't at all this season. I don't understand the legalities and the who's doing what to who and who's not making enough money between Fox Sports North and also YouTube TV as well, even though they try to say, yeah, let's just go ahead and put something back together on a different service. Well, no, I don't want to switch after I just switched from regular cable to YouTube TV. A fraction of the price I'm paying than I had with Charter in the first place, but still got a big bone to pick. That's why YouTube TV cracks the top 10 infamous list here this go around. We go up to number 9, a staple of the number 9 spot with Chuck Fletcher, former Minnesota Wild GM as well. He's holding it down there at that number 9 spot. I think he's going to hang out there for a little while just because of the fact of, well, the Wild are in the position that they, technically are now because of the fact that Chuck Fletcher kind of screwed up the franchise 10-plus years ago at this point. So he's staying there at number 9. Number 8, Josh Gordon, who's made his triumphant comeback on the football field, even though it's in the weirdest arena, backyard, football style with the FCF, I think it's called. Him and Johnny Manziel playing
some fan-controlled league. Yeah.
Whatever. It's run by a bunch of Twitch people, so I don't even understand that in the first place. But Josh Gordon, especially the fact that he had to pawn his Super Bowl ring with the Patriots in order to continue to feed the need. I would assume so, but he's there at number 8. We move up to Super Bowl champion Clantonio Brown. That's Antonio Brown for those that are unaware of that. Obviously, the saga that he had leading up to him getting back in the NFL with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Up until that point, put him in a high regard here on this list, but now that he's got a Super Bowl trophy added to his resume once again, he kind of brings him down here just a little bit. Number 6, we have Phil, no longer the Thrill Kessel as well, just as his career continues to wind down now out in the desert with Arizona, the Coyotes. Yep, there it is right there. Dollar Bill Kirill, the Thrill, Kaprizov.
Damn right.
Taking that nickname as well from Phil, but obviously still a lot of malice towards him. And we're going to move on from that as well. It doesn't deserve my time to go into it much further.
Yeah.
Now we make the biggest jump out of the top 10 in famous list. The Minnesota Timberwolves. Strictly because of the fact, A, you fire your head coach with a 7-24 record here to start the year.
Yep.
And then, instead of sticking with a guy that's probably already on the staff, you hire and sign a completely different person from another team and bring him into the fold as well, into the organization. So you're already making an investment into a guy in the middle of the season that is already lost in the first place. That's why the Minnesota Timberwolves have jumped all the way up to number 5 here this go around with the top 10 in famous list. At the number 4 slot, we got the Big Ten Conference, everything that went on this past football season. We're not going to play the football season. Well, we are going to play the football season. Well, Ohio State needs to play these many games to get in. Oh, they didn't get that in? Well, they're still going to be in the Big Ten championship game as well, and then get stonked in the Big Ten, in the college football playoff as well. Big Ten Conference is not doing themselves any favors when it comes to respect of the Power 5 conferences that they are so much in as well. The mid-major conference with $1 billion budget, just not getting it done in my regard. That's why at the number 4 spot. Number 3, Mr. Manziel, Johnny Manziel, John Manziel, still holding it up there in the top 3 as well. Awesome to see him come back and play a little bit of some football when he wants to. But the fact that now he's just living out in Arizona and playing golf and kind of just messing around, basically. I mean, what could have been? That's the way I look at it. What could have been, but unfortunately, just not enough for him. That's why he's at number 3. Number 2, John Bones Jones. As the saying goes, no news is good news. In this fact, haven't heard a whole lot out of him lately, but still everything going on past-wise and up until recently, until the point that he was chasing somebody out of his front yard with a shotgun that was trying to rob him. Some time ago. I think it was back in 2020 when that happened, but that's why he's staying at the number 2 spot. And of course, we can't have a top 10 in famous list without the heir apparent that is to the New Orleans Saints QB throne, quite possibly, that being infamous Jameis, holding it out once again at the number 1 spot once again. Of course, he gets the new deal with the Saints. More to come on that with absurd or approved. Not really much more that can be said with infamous Jameis at the number 1 spot. Once again, that's my top 10 infamous list.
I like the list. And I think the YouTube TV probably might have to be moved up more because Voldy, Grandpa Jimbo, is unhappy that he cannot watch the Wilds. It is ridiculous that whatever's happening, I believe it's Fox Sports North or whatever it is with YouTube, I don't know. It's ridiculous. So this might be moving up the list even more for our next time when we do the top 10 infamous list. So, oh my gosh, just terrible. All right, well, moving on to my list. Obviously, there's been some mild changes, and last time we talked about a guy named Chad Wheeler, right? We're going to get to him in a second, but let's go 10 through 1 as well. So, starting off, number 10, Jimmy Butler. Now, why are people thinking, Matty C, you just got to get over that whole Jimmy Butler deal and whatnot? But he deserves a spot on this list. He definitely deserves a spot on this list because he's a snake. And that's kind of the main thing with Jimmy Butler. He's doing well with the Heat. That's why he's lower on the list, but he definitely deserves a spot on this list just because of how he's handled things, how he continues to just kind of, say things say the right things and, do everything, that's needed for him and saying, he's a great leader, X, Y, and Z. But then again, he hasn't won an NBA Finals. He's been there, but he hasn't won it. So, going to throw that out there to the zoners as well for interpretation. Number 9, Troy Williamson. We all get it. Troy Williamson he's probably etched in the infamous Hall of Fame. I think he needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Just first-round pick, absolute bust, and he sucked, too, and he was terrible. So he deserves at least 9 on this list still. Number 8, Greg Williams / Sean Payton. Now you're probably thinking Sean Payton used to be pretty high, DJ Matty C. Why did he drop a little bit? Well, I think you need to combine both Greg Williams and Sean Payton because it was a collaborative effort to try and end the Vikings in 2009, and obviously with the Bounty Gate and things like that. So I decided to just kind of combine it because, again, it would make more sense. Obviously, Greg Williams is a piece of trash. Sean Payton's a piece of trash. More on that with the Aints because we got some obviously the big news this past week. So they're number 8 on this list, but again, things could change too. So there's that. All right, number 7, we're sticking with the Aints. Michael Thomas. Now, why Michael Thomas? Michael Thomas hasn't really said much after his whole spiel this past season, but I think he just doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut. And when he puts out, things like, oh, I'm this good, I'm better than this, I'm better than this guy, yada, yada, yada on Twitter, and really it's all Twitter fingers. And the reason why he's called Slant Boys because he can only run slants and things like that. So there's also that to consider. But again, he's just kind of clowning around on Twitter. Moving on to our number 6, Josh Gordon. I think he could probably get a little bit. The thing is when we say, Voldy, this is crazy. When we say with Josh Gordon that, he might get a little lower on the list, he may, fall off, dishonorable mention, things like that. But right when we say that, he does something stupid again. So the thing is we got to watch what we say regarding Josh Gordon. So we got to just kind of, deal with that and take it as it comes with Josh Gordon. So, we'll see what happens. You never know. He could, pop up on this list again. Number 5, Johnny Manziel. I was watching a video on actually they were interviewing both Josh Gordon and Johnny Manziel, and Manziel was kind of saying, oh, we're gonna beat this team. He was kind of being cocky about it, and then all of a sudden he just had a terrible game, and they actually got stomped by the other team. I don't even know what the other team was. But they got stomped. So, Johnny's still Johnny. But again, sometimes Johnny gets into trouble sometimes saying things that he shouldn't. And, he didn't really give a good effort on trying to dive for the ball. Oh.
Yeah. Whoa. I know what you're seeing.
Whoa. You know what I'm seeing. You know what I'm seeing right now.
Oh, yeah.
We have breaking news, Zoners. Zoners, we have breaking news. We have breaking news. The Minnesota Vikings have signed Patrick Peterson, 1 year, $10 million. It is a done deal according to Adam Schefter. So, Patrick Peterson, I said, Voldy, the veteran presence that they needed, and this is perfect. Patrick Peterson, the veteran presence, let's go. What are your thoughts? Patrick Peterson, baby.
Huge pickup. I mean, the guy's been a Pro Bowler. He's been an All-Pro. I mean, if he can be that saving grace in a woeful defensive backfield that was this past year, why not? And go out there, get him on a 1 year, $10 million deal. It's very cap-friendly for the Vikings. I don't see any way that this can hurt the Vikings as well. If he can just stay healthy, knock on wood as I say that.
Yeah, knock on wood. Obviously, I don't want to say he's past his prime, but I'm just saying that veteran presence is something that they need to help guys like Gladney, guys like Dantzler. I think this is a great signing. I really do. And him being in a Zimmer offense will be very interesting to see. I mean, if we had Patrick Peterson maybe a couple of years, back, I mean, oh man, we'd be looking pretty good. But this is a very good sign. I like this. And I talked about the veteran presence. This is a big signing for the Minnesota Vikings. So let's see what happens coming up. I said, Voldy, just wait. They might throw something our way. So we'll keep you posted on that. And obviously, so I think we finished up talking about Johnny Manziel. So let's get back to our infamous list with that good news. Number 4, A-Rod. A-Rod's had a rough week, hasn't he?
Oh yeah,
he's had a rough week, and you know what's funny is that every time people, start getting used, A-Rod's just fine and everything like that. I keep saying this to people. He can't. Mets just said it right here. A-Rod just can't stop cheating.
No, he can't.
He can't. He cheats in baseball. He cheats on his fiance. I mean, good Lord, this guy. Just when you think he's on the right track, and then he just falls off the rails. So he definitely deserves to stay on this list. A-Rod, look, you have J-Lo, and I've been very J-Lo, man. J-Lo.
Come on.
Okay, and J-Lo is very talented. Obviously, I had my criticism of J-Lo in the Super Bowl halftime, but at the same time, J-Lo is still a star. She is amazing, but A-Rod is really dropping the ball on this, and he should, yeah. He can't stop cheating. He can't stop cheating. And that's the issue with A-Rod, folks. That's the issue with Alex Rodriguez. He just can't help himself. Oh, my gosh. So let's move on to our number 3 spot. Now, this one is a little more serious because this clown, for one, Chad Wheeler. He used to be with the Seattle Seahawks, and obviously domestic violence. He beat his, I think, girlfriend or wife or whoever it was, and this clown decides, to say stuff saying this never happened, X, Y, and Z, when it's very blatant that it did happen, and the Seahawks took action right away and said, "See ya, buddy," and I think he's facing a lot of charges now, so that Chad Wheeler can kick rocks. And obviously, I like to say a lot of other things right now about that guy, but we're just gonna leave it like that because. Dude's a jackass. Speaking of jackasses, number 2, Donald Sterling, of course, because Donald Sterling had a lot of racist comments. Obviously, he was recorded saying a lot of very racist things. He's banned for basketball from life. So I think we probably take him off this list and put him in the dishonorable bracket now. And then we can add more to the list as well. So we'll put him in there. He's definitely up there. And number one is Infamous Jameis. Why not? I mean, Infamous Jameis is just a guy that is, he gets all of these, cool, he gets a nice deal with the Aints. And then obviously he has to fight for his job against Taysom Hill now and whatnot. But something tells me, Voldy, he's going to do something stupid. Something's going to happen. But again, if he does well, he does well. We'll give him credit for it. But at the same time, Infamous Jameis is why we made this segment. So this is kind of the big thing. So I don't think he's going anywhere from that number 1 spot. But Victor says real quick, congrats, Shield.
Thanks, Vic.
So we want to make sure we get that in. And if you guys want to throw your congrats and things like that, please feel free. And obviously, let us know your opinion. So anyway, those are our infamous lists. Let's bring it up again just to make sure everyone knows what's going on. Obviously, we had the big news with the Vikings signing Patrick Peterson. $10 million. 1 year, $10 million. I mean, that's looking good. Hopefully, he can help out this young secondary, and I think he will. But those are the infamous list. We can post that later, maybe tomorrow, and you guys give your thoughts on it. So, yeah. And Victor saying, booyah! So, let's go. Let's go. The Vikings are making moves, and hopefully they address the line spot, too. So, I know Kerf Doctor's been waiting on that. So, we'll see what happens. All right, Voldy, it is time for ARA. It's time to get back to the segment that you've made famous. Obviously, it's not the Zoner's favorite. I mean, Tater Tot Hot Take is kind of the favorite segment now. But we still love ARA. We got some really nice ARAs, by the way. So let's get it going with some Absurd or Approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
Before we get started with Absurd or Approved, I gotta get this comment in. Congrats, as Taylor Barker is saying. Assuming the kid isn't raised in the temple of Tom Brady. Just to let you know that Taylor is not a big fan of Tom Brady, so just to let you know, Shield. And he's buying a sweatshirt, by the way, so we might have to put Brady on the back of it, and we'll see if that will work out just fine.
May have to.
May have to. We'll see what happens with that. All jokes aside. All right, Voldy, let's get it going. So why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we finally did get news that we all hoped was going to be coming very, very soon.
Yes.
The career for a one New Orleans Saints quarterback, Drew Brees, announced his retirement from the NFL on Sunday after 20 seasons in the National Football League, most of them with the Saints, also his time before that with the San Diego Chargers, retiring at the age of 42. Obviously, we all know the numbers and passing yards, touchdown passes, completion percentage, yada, yada, yada. We all know that. We all know the fact that he got his only Super Bowl because of the benefit of the Bounty Gate situation. We don't want to talk about that more than we need to as well. Absurd or approve the retirement of Drew Brees from the National Football League?
Well, Voldy, this was a day I was waiting on for a while. The reason why is because Drew Brees has been a thorn in my side for years and years, obviously since 2009. Now, the thing is I don't want to be super negative about this and whatnot, but the guy's a Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. I will say that. He's got the stats. He's a very good quarterback, and he deserves to be in the Hall because he was that good. Okay, there's no denying his talent as a quarterback, and I think this was the right decision. He was getting the injuries were piling up, and when the injuries start to pile up, that's when you have to start considering things. And obviously, with Favre tried to Iron Man it, but Father Time catches up with you, and it was catching up with Drew Brees. Now, Drew Brees is going to be with NBC now as a commentator, and I said this before on the show that I think he will be a good commentator. I really do. I really think he'll be good, and he'll get his Hall of Fame thing and everything like that. But the one thing that remains, and will still remain to this day, what happened in 2009, I don't think I can ever forgive Drew Brees for. Obviously, he's not the one that did the Bounty Gate or anything like that, and X, Y, and Z. But the fact that he denied it, he kept denying it, saying nothing happened, yada, yada, yada. I don't know why they're putting down this punishment on Peyton and things like that. When it's been proven, time and time again, that this happened. And, I didn't know anything about this. Yes, you did. You knew about it. We know you knew about it. But, again, at the same time, people say, well, what else was he going to say? At least be a man and say, we screwed up. We screwed up, and obviously he's had some faults. And the thing is I'm glad he's gone now because I don't have to worry about him ever winning a Super Bowl in New Orleans. So that's the nice thing about it for me. But at the same time, though, Voldy, he's a Hall of Famer, first ballot. It's got my stamp of approval because, again, it was the right time. So Brees helped heal an entire city after Katrina. He did. He did.
Can we move on from that storyline already?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's always that. But, again, that one thing will always bother me. That will always bother me. So, again, he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no issue with that. But stamp of approval. Hopefully, he'll spend time with his kids and, should be good to go. And then he'll be a commentator. So it's all good. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Obviously, the fact that, the way the season ended, not the way that the Saints wanted to, I'm sure a lot of us were happy the fact that Drew Brees lost. I know I certainly was because that meant Tom Brady won against the Saints once again.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's got the numbers to show it, and what he's done on and off the field is great. All I got to say is don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Hey,
that's all you need.
That's it.
That's all you need for this. But, again, he'll be a good commentator and everything like that. Just I'm glad he didn't win another Super Bowl. There's only one person that still remains from that 2009 team, and that's Sean Payton. So we can still hate on him.
Go Thomas Morstead too, their punter.
Oh, that's true.
Those two guys were the longest guys tenured with the Saints, and they're the only two left from the Super Bowl team. So, I mean, there you go.
There's that. But anyway, yeah, it's again, great career. He'll get his first ballot Hall of Famer, so we'll give him that. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, in a very un-New England Patriots move here in the last couple of, I want to say even days, they're picking up everybody with free agency as the NFL year did officially come to a start today. Bill Belichick is becoming old Billy Moneybags over here, and he is just throwing out all the dollars. They picked up so many guys in free agency. We're talking the likes of two top tight ends, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith as well. Yeah. Those are the two top free agent signings for the tight end position. Baltimore Ravens outside linebacker Anthony Judon, Miami Dolphins defensive tackle Devon Gaccio, even the likes of Philadelphia Eagles defensive back Jalen Mills. Not to mention that they are even locking up a couple more receivers, Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, one with the Raiders, the other with the 49ers, and even defensive tackle Henry Anderson as well, with the likes of free agency. Not to mention they also re-signed Cam Newton to a one-year contract as well. Absurd or approved, New England Patriots will improve from their 2020 record based off their moves with the free agent signings so far.
Yeah, I do. It's got my stamp of approval. Obviously, people are saying, there's been memes about Belichick saying, he's trying to get back to where, he wants to get back to the promised land. And, he was pissed off that Brady won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, things like that. And that's the thing is, the thing that lacked for the New England Patriots, and Voldy, you can attest to this too, they didn't have a lot of weapons. I mean, there weren't a lot of weapons. And again, I will say, though, there was a little bit of poor play from Cam Newton, too. Not saying that, that he's squeaky clean of this. And, again, they re-signed Cam and whatnot. But making those moves, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Nelson Aguilar, guys like that. And then, obviously, on the defensive side, Matthew Judon, too. I think that's a big sign. That's a really good signing. And Belichick, I think, knows what he's doing in that regard with the defense. But when you have more weapons for Cam to work with, I think they can be much better. And I think, it's the first year with McDaniels and that type of offense working with Belichick. And they have some belief in Cam too. But again, the draft's coming up too. So you could be looking at if guys start to fall or if Bill wants to move up, that's also an option for the New England Patriots. But I think they will. They'll improve, but there's some people saying they'll win the AFC East, and I don't know about that yet. We're going to have to wait on that. But, again, they went out. The first wave, they just went out and were like, we want him, Jonnu, Hunter, Nelson Aguilar, all these guys. It was crazy how many guys they were able to sign. So, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval, Voldy. I think they're going to have a better year this year. Don't know if they're going to win the division. So, Voldy, what do you think?
If this was anything like Bill Belichick's Subway commercials, he's just right at the line of free agency. Be like, okay, give me a little bit of that. Take some of this. Maybe an extra dash of that. Can I get double of that right there? Yeah. And make sure it's all nice and toasted, too. The big thing with a lot of these signings, too, is that the Patriots, especially on the defensive side, they're getting younger as well. I mean, of the guys that they did sign, Jonnu Smith, Kendrick Bourne, 25 years old. Gaccio and Mills are both 26. Aguilar is 27. Matthew Judon is only 28 years old. Obviously, Judon on the higher side of that age. But, that's one thing that needed to improve on. They need to get younger at a few positions. Obviously, you've got the McCourty twins that are in the later stages of their careers as well. Stephon Gilmore coming off a Defensive Player of the Year from the year before. Didn't have the greatest year overall. Adding a couple more weapons like Aguilar and also Kendrick Bourne does help a receiving core that really hasn't been all that great. Obviously Julian Edelman was going to be the main guy this year. He gets hurt and has to miss the rest of the year. And production did dwindle in big time. But the Patriots did kind of rebound a little bit in an area that they hadn't been so strong in the last few years in the running game. They finished 4th in the league in rushing, especially with James White, Rex Burkhead for a good couple of games, Sonny Michel, and you throw in Cam Newton in there, who did have a good bulk of his action in the run game as well. You balance that all out, and they could definitely be putting something together, especially when they get those 2 tight ends in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, because as soon as Gronk left, I mean, tight end production just went steep down and into the cellar with that. So that's one way that the Patriots they're one of those teams that live and die by the tight end. And well, I definitely see at least above 500. I don't know about winning the AFC East, because that is, I think in my mind, firmly in the hands of Buffalo. It's their division to lose going into this year, but we'll kind of wait and see as well. It's always a 4-horse race. I wouldn't be surprised this comes down to the final week of the regular season, a la, the mid-2000s American League Central, always going down to the final couple of games of the regular season. So again, a really good start. It's got my stamp of approval. Let's just see how much more money that the Patriots want to go out and dish out to some of these other free agents.
Yeah, again, it's still very early. A lot of things can happen, and maybe even a couple of trades. You never know. Belichick's wheeling and dealing right now. So, like you said, we'll see what happens. But yeah, stamp of approval. I think they'll improve, but I don't think they'll win the division. So, we'll see what happens. Next one, Voldy.
Well, we stick with NFL free agency, if you want to call it that. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and quarterback Tom Brady did come to another extension. 4-year extension that did void to a 1-year extension as well. That means that the the Buccaneers have Tom Brady through the 2022 season as well. Obviously, coming off Super Bowl number 7, a win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and obviously turning around that whole market that has been for the NFC South, that has been the cellar dweller for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the last handful of seasons as well. Now, we pose the question, obviously it's very early in the whole process, but with re-signing Tom Brady, do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the best chance of repeating as Super Bowl champions?
Yes. And the reason why I say that is because they've done all they've needed to do in free agency. They were wondering if they could hold on to Chris Godwin.
Yep.
They franchise tagged him, which, again, I think in the future they eventually sign him to a long-term contract. I think he likes it in Tampa Bay. The next one was Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett had a phenomenal season. And I think that was that was critical to get him to sign again. 4-year deal, however millions of dollars that he got. But he's that. You got to have a pass rush, very good pass rush. And Shaq Barrett's that guy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He wanted to re-sign there, so I don't think there was any issue with that. Now, obviously, they got the guys that they're bringing back the guys. Gronk's back. He got his 1 year, was it $10 million or something like that? And they've got the guys that they needed to get. Now, the question is, are they going to be able to re-sign Fournette? Playoff Lenny, right? I think that's what it was, right? Playoff Lenny?
Yep, Playoff Lenny. Yeah,
Playoff Lenny. And I think that's the next thing. That's the next domino that needs to fall. And I think they will, and they have the team to do it. Now, is Tom going to hold up during that time? I think he can. They have a good enough offensive line to work with, and obviously you got Antoine Winfield, on the defense as well, making plays, throwing up the deuces to people, especially Tyreek Hill. And Tyler Johnson, I think he's starting to come up. Now, the big question is what are they going to do about Clowntonio? That's the next question that they have to bring up as well. So there's a lot of what ifs. But I think they definitely, it's got my stamp of approval. So what up, Jack? He says, what up, Zona boys? What's going on, Jack? He says, welcome back, Papa Shield.
Oh, man.
There we go. Welcome back, Papa Shield. Welcome back. So, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. So, Papa Shield, what do you think?
Obviously this was the best move that they need to make right away. I am locking it in that they do have the best chance, and I will say that they will repeat as Super Bowl champions here on March 17th, 2021,
Whoa!
marking the What marking the 1-year anniversary that Tom Brady said that he's leaving New England. So why not put that out there into the world for everybody to hear and to lock in at the same time? Okay. But other moves that they did make, obviously they re-signed Shaq Barrett. They franchise tagged Chris Godwin. They did re-sign Kelvin Minter, another key linebacker that did play some snaps for the likes of Levante David and Devin White. Were two solid linebackers that are a big part of that defense. Now, as for the Leonard Fournette situation, that's going to be a tough one. Obviously, revitalizing his career, he's gonna draw the eye of a bunch of teams. Now, if playoff Lenny takes his ways elsewhere, well, it has been reported that the Buccaneers are looking at another one of Tom Brady's old teammates, that being James White. Yeah, that could certainly be a good spot for him as well. See if that does come to fruition or not. Obviously, they have a bevy of running backs down there. If you lose Fournette, I wonder if Shady McCoy's going to come back this year or not, or if he's just going to decide to hang him up as well. You've got Rojo, Ronald Jones, the second down there, who's up and coming. Keyshawn Vaughn, a rookie that they had this past year, played a few snaps. They've got nothing but running backs down there as well. And obviously you did re-sign Rob Gronkowski as well. Let's not forget that part, too, in the whole thing. But I think this has got my stamp of approval. Yeah. The Brady Bucks have got it this year.
Yeah, I don't doubt that because, you think before this, a lot could happen and things like that. But, hey, Vold, you said they make a deep run and they end up winning the Super Bowl. So there's that as well. Mikey, I believe, is just tuning in because, we did break the Patrick Peterson news, right, as we're doing top 10 and famous list. So, yes, Mikey, we know.
Sure.
We could maybe have Mikey on next week to talk about this. I think we should look into that for next week. So I think Mikey would be A-okay with that. So next one, Voldy.
Yeah, we go back to the NCAA, but talking about college football in this sense. Okay. Now, the NCAA Football Rules Committee did get a chance to go over a few things, and it's looking like quite possibly that there may be some changes to overtime, but nothing's official as of right now. As looks like under proposed rule changes that would take effect this season, teams would no longer start offensive possessions at an opponent's 25-yard line after the second overtime. Now, this proposed rule change would, as currently the rule has it, that teams are required to run 2-point plays after a touchdown is scored if the game reaches past 3 overtimes, and would then run alternating 2-point plays once a game reaches a 5th overtime. Yeah. Now, the NCAA just wants to shut that all down in the first place. They want to basically just say, put it at the 2-yard line. Whoever scores wins. That's it as well. Now, I want to get your opinion on this. Yeah. Is it absurd or approved, the NCAA wanting to change the college football overtime rule?
I think this one is definitely something you have to be careful with. And I think from this aspect, and I believe Stanford coach David Shaw actually talked about a situation that he had where was it recently?
2018, I think.
2018, yep, 2018. Yep. We all really looked at the LSU Texas A&M game a couple of years ago. That was prompted the change for last season, looking at it again this year. And then this past year, too, they played UCLA, and there were a lot of injuries that happened during the OT and whatnot. Because you can, I feel like there has to be a winner in this sense, and I don't disagree with the fact that you have to go for 2 to try and, finish the game. You always want to go for the win, et cetera, et cetera. Now, they want to shorten the game, per se, which I think makes a lot of sense. And I think, I think Shaw said this was the biggest discussion we've had since I joined the Rules Committee. It's tough. What we're talking about is the ethical conduct and unethical conduct by coaches trying to influence the game. It's hard to put it on the officials. It's hard to put it on something in play for that small percentage of unscrupulous coaches without punishing everybody else. So they have so many, and then he talks about, the TV, having angles and stuff like that, figuring out, replays, all that all that stuff. But they want to try and prevent this type of faking injury, guys faking injuries, things like that too. And it gets a little, ridiculous to, try and influence the game from a coach's standpoint and whatnot. But I think this rule can be put into place and work. Are they going to do it right? Probably not, because it's the NCAA. So we'll see what happens. I guess I can't really give it a stamp of approval or an absurdness because I don't know how it's going to turn out. So, Voldy, what do you think?
My problem is, why does football hate overtime so much?
I don't know.
Pro football, they do the whole thing where if a team scores a field goal, then the other team gets a shot at it. But if a team scores a touchdown the first possession, the game's over. Now, college football wants to take it out of basically the playmakers' hands altogether. Look, that game in 2018, LSU versus Texas A&M, 74-72 and 7 overtimes. That is what college football is about. It is fantastic. Is it god-awful for a defense to try to play against that? Absolutely. But that's what football is all about. Games aren't going to go your way. And obviously, too, players get hurt. That's why you have 100 players on a football team. That's why you're giving scholarships to all these kids. You gotta let the kids play. And obviously you're going to make more bang for your buck the longer the game goes. Advertising rights, people in the stands, all that stuff as well plays into it. I don't understand why the NCAA wants to ruin this. Some of the greatest games of all time have been overtime, 4 or 5 overtime games that have just been knocked down, drag them out contests, and they live in that lore. Nobody ever talks about a game that went all the way down to 0 and it just was a complete one-sided victory. No, they talk about the games that were nail-biting, overtime, came down to a goal line stand, came down to the very nitty-gritty pass breakup in the third overtime. Now, running 2-point plays, in this day and age, you can't trust kickers anymore. I would have no problem if they force teams to start running 2-point plays, as soon as overtime is. Take the kicker completely out of it, just go for it. You want to kick a field goal, that's fine. But, obviously, if your team it has to go for 2, no matter what. But taking it completely out of the coaches and the players' hands, I've got a problem with that. I think it's completely absurd.
Now, one thing I want to bring up, too, is that coaches have tried – I've seen coaches fake an injury, give us time on the clock, which can, again, you have to look at that and look at it in detail. But at the same time, this whole consensus about this is to, prevent any of that. But again, like you said, Voldy, that it's just going to throw the game, out of context and also in the OT. What's so great about OT is that, it's different and there's got to be a winner. And I feel like there has to be a winner or loser. And obviously in the NFL, it's a different thing, ties. And I'm not a huge fan of it, but that's just me.
Right.
But at the same time, I think that they're overthinking this, really, and I wouldn't be a fan of it, but at the same time, I don't know how I think I agree with you. I think it can influence the game in a negative way, so I think that's one thing that we all have to consider. So, as owners, whatever you guys think, let us know, too. So, there's that. All right, last one, Voldy.
Well, it was announced earlier this week, that LeBron James, Los Angeles Lakers star, has decided to join himself into the ownership realm as well, as he is joining the Fenway Sports Group as a partner. Only 2% stake, but still notable enough that the subsidiaries of the Fenway Sports Group do include the Boston Red Sox, the Liverpool Football Club, Roush Fenway Racing, as well as the New England Sports Network, or better known as NESN, as LeBron James throwing his hat into the ownership realm in that sense, and joining his business partner Maverick Carter as also the company's first black owners as well, or I should say stakeholders and partners in that sense as well. Absurd or approved, LeBron James throwing himself into the ownership ring.
Well, this is interesting because of all teams, the Red Sox. Now, Voldy, does this make you a big fan of LeBron James now?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, if you think about it, it's a really smart business move. I mean, principal owner John Henry for the Fenway Sports Group has really built that. Obviously, we know the performance on the field, but also behind the scenes. I mean, that team's a moneymaker, is what it is. And that whole sports group as well with Nesson, and also Liverpool's really turned things around here as of late. Roush Fenway Racing, which does have, racers and cars at basically every level of professional racing. I mean, there's just many avenues that make a lot of money, and I'm definitely not surprised that LeBron is decided to go that route. I mean, I was a fan of LeBron. I wasn't as big of a fan as say maybe ESPN is of LeBron James, but obviously you got to respect the game.
Yeah, you definitely do. Now, here's something that I found interesting at the end of this article, because this could play out very controversial, and I think I'm surprised it hasn't been that big of a story yet. LeBron James has actually been a fan of the New York Yankees, and he's publicly rooted for the Los Angeles Dodgers in last year's World Series. So is this a change of heart now for LeBron James to go, to be a Red Sox, fan? Because the thing is he can't be both a Red Sox fan and a Yankees fan for that matter. So I don't know. We're going to have to ask, LeBron's going to have to clear that up, because we'll see what happens. But anyway, let's get back to LeBron getting an ownership stake. It's got my stamp of approval. I really think LeBron is doing a cool thing here, saying like, hey, I can own a team just as much as anyone too, and it's got my stamp of approval. And LeBron says it's a historical franchise, and we know the history of the World Series championships that they've brought home to Boston, and the players that have come through here, and the legacy that they hold in that area. So I think LeBron knows the legacy and whatnot, and he with the ownership stake in Liverpool and things like that, and Maverick Carter's is one of his best friends too. So I think it all makes sense in the end. Hopefully they can get the Red Sox back to stardom a little bit here too. Obviously with the stake in it, even though it's it's still kind of a part ownership type of thing. But at the same time, I think it'll work out in the end. I really believe that, and I think I don't see an issue with it. So I guess we'll see what happens. Voldy, what do you think?
I mean, this is as good of a smart business move as it takes. Obviously, we'll look past the fact that he's, cheered for the Yankees and the Dodgers as well. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But that's in the past. We're talking business here. This is big boy stuff right here. Obviously, LeBron James's career, I mean, he's still at a high level right now, but we'll see about 3-4 years down the road if he's still performing at that same level. Who knows? Maybe he might call it quits early. We'll have to see how this season goes for the Lakers as well. But I definitely like to see that the fact that he's, on the entrepreneur side of things, still diversifying his brand a little bit more. And, obviously you throw your hat into the ring on a few different ventures. And this is definitely one of the smarter ones that you can go with, especially with the likes of John Henry, Tom Werner as well, leading that ownership group for the Red Sox and for the Fenway Sports Group as well.
Right, and it's like you said, great business move, and I think LeBron will have I think he'll enjoy it, and then he'll be wearing the Red Sox hat, maybe a jersey or whoever. Yeah, he should be, or unless you're going to have some words about that with LeBron there, Voldy. So there's that as well. So, but anyway, I believe that'll do it for ARA this week. It is time for Shield Shoutouts. It is a very special Shield Shoutouts this week. So, Voldy, we should just get it going. Let's do some
Let's do it.
Shoutouts.
Shield Shoutouts.
All right, it is time for Shield Shoutouts. I know mostly of who you're shouting out tonight, but let's just get it going. The floor is yours, sir. It's time for Shield Shoutouts.
Well, for those that have been uninformed or haven't seen a whole lot on social media from myself the past week or so, well, let's just say I've been a little bit busy. I do want to give just one big old shield shout out to welcoming into the world my son, Kase Paul James Vold, born on Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. Born 8 pounds, 1.3 ounces, and big old honking feet just like his dad. So a big shield shout out to my baby son Kase, who's probably throwing a fit right now with mom in the other room right now. But speaking of which, I do have to say that an amazing, incredible job by a wonderful woman and my wife, that being Mrs. Sarah Ann, who's Vold Creative Consultant, who did an amazing job. All credit goes to her to getting him to this point, and also bringing him into the world so that way I can call myself a father. And a big thank you as well to everyone over at Riverwood Healthcare Center, for especially the OB ward as well, and the labor department for all their great work. It's not too often that you can say that your child was delivered into this world by the mayor of the town that you live in as well. And just so happens that our doctor, Megan Workman, just so happens to be the mayor of the city of Aiken as well.
There you go.
So a big thank you to all the OB nurses and also Megan for being with us during that trip as well. And for everybody who's reached out over the past week, has given us calls, sent us cards, and all that fun stuff, all the gifts over the last few months as well. A big thank you to everybody on that. I was going to do this last time that we were on the show, but it would have given away a couple of things. But I do have to give a big shield shout out to my father-in-law and my brother-in-law. I got a little show and tell here. This right here, if you can see.
Oh, look at that.
It's got his name. It's got Kase's name on it. This is a milking stool that my father-in-law made. Obviously, Sarah's dad is a dairy farmer, so a little milking stool for a little Kase. And then my brother-in-law Jake too has decided to make Kase a little little toolbox with his name also on it as well, which is also currently a good spot to be holding all the MinneZona Sports Live stickers here currently. Just a little bit of extra advertising, so a big thank you to those guys for the great presents as well. All the clothes that have been sewn together by my mother-in-law, Sheila, as well. All the gifts, everybody who's reached out. Coach Blanchard actually gave me a call earlier this week too. Skip decided he decided to impart his words of wisdom when it comes to being a father as well. So big thank you to everybody who's kind of reached out here over the past week. And it's a new chapter in life that we're going through, but it's a very rewarding one so far. But before we do wrap up Shield Shoutouts, I do also have to wish a happy 2-year sobriety anniversary to a great guy, a buddy of mine from back in Byron, Jeremy Richardson, who's been through a long journey to get him here to this point as well. But he's doing great right now. 2 years sober today. Congratulations to you, buddy. And great job so far, taking it day by day. That's what we've got for Shield Shoutouts this week.
Wow. I mean, that was special Shield Shoutouts. That was a great Shield Shoutouts, by the way.
Yeah.
And, like we said before, it's crazy. We have a new zoner. Kase.
Yeah, we do.
And obviously he's for the keepers, as we like to say. But obviously that's. I mean, Kase Keenum, Kase Vold. It all makes sense. Right? Because with that, so. Yeah, we welcome Kase, and like you said, Voldy, I mean, it's going to be fun. He's got the MinneZona stuff. He's ready to go, and I'm sure you throw on stickers everywhere or anywhere, on his crib, whatever you want. Maybe even on his milk bottle when he gets older, things like that. We got plenty of options. But anyway, let's see. Mama Vold said, or Grandma Vold, as I should say, woohoo, and she says, "Wait, I thought you were at work last week." Well, I may have lied. I may have lied.
Bit of a fib.
Yeah, I may have lied, but at the same time, I wanted to give Voldy a chance and Sarah a chance to give you guys the surprise of the century, and it was. Okay, I may have tinsy lied a little bit, but that's all good. But anyway, before we wrap up the show, obviously we've got Voldy. You just showed something that looked really nice, by the way. They're MinneZona stickers, and we've got a whole slew of them, especially in Kase's toolbox, as we like to say too. Obviously, these puppies are $3. We got plenty of them. $3. $2 for these bad boys as well. And then if you want a bigger size, well, we've got this, $3.
Bam.
Yeah, we've got just plenty of them.
Well,
and
bam.
then, yep, another one is though. And then $2 for these puppies. And the window decals, too. Window decals, $3. So we can get that for you, too. I think that's all I promoted with that. But you guys need to check out the stickers. People love them. If you want some, we've got plenty, so we'll send them off to you and get it to you as well. Obviously, Voldy, we talked about the sweatshirts.
Yep.
We need one or more or two people so Jimbo can get the bulk, and then we can all get the sweatshirts for the zoners as well. So we have the sweatshirts ready to go for that, and $40, $5 shipping, and yeah, they're great. I haven't heard a bad review about them. And then also, you know what I also have heard too? The shirts are really good too. We made a collage of the Zoner. It's Zoner approved. And we made a post about it. And it looks fantastic. We put the collage together, obviously, with Double Trouble, obviously, on there. Joe Clements on there. Sam Gabrielli. And just a whole slew of people on there. Will Rattel. Obviously, you got to get Rattel on as well here soon. So, but anyway, shirts, $20, $5 shipping. Make sure you get your shirts if you haven't got some yet. Shout out to National Fleet Graphics, Crown Rental for the stickers as well. And W2 Performance, the Barbell Nerds podcast. They also have stickers too. If you want these bad boys, $2.
Nice.
Okay. So make sure you check out the podcast. They've got new videos. Launch 1.0. Make sure you check that out. It's been helping out a lot of athletes jump higher and dunk. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. And I think Anthony Edwards, I believe, Voldy, has been taking note of that. I believe.
Had to have been.
It had to. So there's that. Make sure you check out the Barbell Nerds podcast, W2 Performance. And then also check out Jack's Junkyard. He's got new episodes every week. Season 2 is already in full motion, so make sure you check out Jack's Junkyard. He's wearing the sweatshirt during the show. I mean, there's nothing better than that. We appreciate you, Jack, for doing that for us. And we'll make sure that we keep promoting your show because it's a great show. So, but anyway, Voldy, great job as always. Congratulations for.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Congratulations, you and Sarah, Grandma Janebo, Grandpa Jimbo, the twos as well. I mean, it's just fantastic. Kase is an official zoner. He's finally here. Welcome to fatherhood, Voldy. Welcome to fatherhood. That's all I gotta say. So, but anyway, a great episode 57. We will be back next week, and I think we'll probably start talking more about this guy, Dollar Bill Kirill, baby. The Wilder are on a roll right now, and obviously we'll keep you posted. They play the Avalanche tomorrow, so we'll keep you posted on that with Dollar Bill Kirill. So it'll be fun. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. And, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.